Hey there, welcome to My Green Pets. I'm William Green. This is my apartment, or at least this is where I grow my plants at home. And I just wanted to show you what I got going on here. After we look around here, we're going to go to the greenhouse where I keep the rest of my orchid collection and see what's going on over there. So let's have a look. Alright, so for me the most important thing that's going on right now at home is this plant. This is a Cattleya rex. And last year this plant bloomed in August and I pollinated it, and this is the seed pod. And it is almost, well, it's what, 10 months old? So it's still not ready to split yet. When it does start to split, it'll be down here at the base. You can see there's kind of a line here. When the seed pod is done, it'll start drying out and it'll start splitting there. And then the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of dust-sized seeds will start spilling out. And I will want to try to catch those. And then I'm going to send them to Troy Meyer's laboratory to be flasked. So that should be interesting. But the thing is, you can see this plant is extremely dehydrated, right? All of the bulbs are very shrivelly. Even the most recent bulb. This most recent bulb, when this grew last year, it didn't put out a single new root. Why? Well, I was having an issue with snails. So as soon as the roots would poke out, the snails would eat them. But the amazingly great news is that this new growth, the reason I brought this plant home, one was to catch the seeds in case they started to fall out, but two, because I want to make absolutely sure that this growth was able to put out roots, because if it wasn't, this thing would probably not make it, okay? So, can you see at the base there? Little green nubbins? Yes, so this plant is starting to root, and in fact, I have counted 4 different roots so far coming out. I know they're really kind of hard to see because they're just poking out, but I've counted 4 root tips pushing out, and that is such a relief. So I'm gonna, the plant is potted in granite, and as we've seen in the greenhouse, that the plants, the Cattleya, seem to be really doing well in the granite. So I'm expecting, you know, with fingers crossed, but expecting that these roots will come out, hit that granite, continue growing, and, you know, if I could get 5 roots with, you know, 10, 15 centimeters of length on each root, then this plant is good to go. It is saved. So that's very good news, and I'm just really keeping an eye on those. So that, yeah, hopefully this will all go well. Now, I don't expect these old bulbs to like refill with water. I think they'll stay shrivelly, but it's okay. As long as this new growth is good and plump, then that sets the plant up for success for another year. The plants surrounding the Cattleya are different slipper orchids, different parts of Southeast Asia. This is a tonsum, been in bloom for a couple months now. This is urbanianum from the Philippines. 2 nice little flowers on it. They look like they might start to be wilting a little bit, but man, they've lasted a couple months. Really nice here in the apartment. Some of them, well, I don't want to jinx it. They seem to be growing okay, but you know, one issue that I always have with paphs is that the leaves at the very base start to, for some reason, they get a little rot in them and then it starts spreading. So, for example, if you look at the base of this guy here, you can see some little dark marks. And, you know, if conditions are right, then there could be some rot to start up again. You can see previous growths have rotted, and you can even see the base of this newest growth here. One of those little bracts has turned dark brown, and so you know, it's just a constant concern with these things. I don't know why, but I think it's pretty common with paphs. Obviously, ideal conditions, you wouldn't have that kind of situation, but growing them in pots at home or even in a greenhouse, you know, if water sits in those leaves for too long, then they start to rot, and then it's like impossible to ever get rid of it. Another plant that I'm having some issues with, this is my award-winning Paph prime child. If you look in the AOS register, this plant has the largest flowers on record for a Paph prime child. The clonal name is Apollo, and it has got, you can see these bracts down here have started to turn black, and of course this is a brand new growth that's, well, new in that it's almost done growing, and so the most frustrating thing is, of course, when the growth almost is finished, almost complete and ready to bloom, and then you start to see rot at the base. That's pretty awful. So I've been spraying it with Physan every few days, hoping maybe it'll take off these bottom, maybe these bottom leaves will die off, but then the rest of them will be okay. I don't know, but it's frustrating. Next to that, we got the cattail orchid, Dienia ophrydis. I've removed all of the dead flowers so that you can just see this one. Kind of nice. I like that. And then there's a little one down here. Isn't that cute? And then I had another one over here, but I actually broke it off. Oops. And then next to it we have this slinky, snaky Phalaenopsis spike. I tried to tie it to this stake, but it was not having it. It was fighting me, so I said, alright, fine, whatever. So the plant's putting out new leaf, but it's also got this funky spike. And it looks like the flowers are going to have some kind of a pinkish purplish color. I have no idea what color they're going to be, so that'll be exciting to see. I got some really good advice from some of my viewers on YouTube, as well as people on Instagram, to repot my Clivia miniata in a looser mix with more air to the roots. And so I repotted it a few months ago and just orchid bark and just sprinkled some succulent mix in there as well. And I've been feeding it lightly but regularly, and man, it is looking so good. It's never looked this good. It looks so great. The new leaves, look how big and thick they are, and it just keeps pushing them out. And you know, I wish that I wasn't seeing these kind of yellow tips. Even the brand new growths have a little bit of yellow in the tip. I don't know why. Maybe it's not a big deal, I don't know, but when it starts to spread down the leaf, obviously that's really annoying. But overall, I'm super happy with the way it looks, and hopefully this winter when it blooms, it will put out a really nice display, and we'll get more than the 5 or 6 flowers we got this past year. Hopefully we'll get really nice, tight cluster of flowers, maybe like 12 or more. That would be awesome. So thank you guys for your suggestions with this, because this plant is looking better than it's ever looked. Alright, well that's enough of what's going on here in the apartment. Let's go over to the greenhouses and see what my orchid collection is doing over there. Hey, welcome to the greenhouse. Now this is where the rest of my orchid collection is kept. I've got about 40 plants here in the greenhouse, all kind of crammed together there. And this time of year is really a growing season. Most of my collection is just in full growth mode, putting on new bulbs, new leaves, not a whole lot of flowers. But that hopefully is going to change soon, and I want to show you the plants that I'm most excited about blooming. This is a Cattleya rex, and I've got several of these that came from a flask. And this one is going to be blooming, hopefully, for the first time, and it's got a nice sheath there pushing out. There's another plant, really nice big one. You can see the difference between the one that I showed you in the apartment. It's kind of shriveled up. These are doing really well. And this one actually has 2 growths, and each growth has a sheath inside, so hopefully those are going to put out some flowers, bloom at the same time. And Cattleya rex is known for producing lots of flowers, like maybe up to 10 per spike. Bulbophyllum echinolabium is blooming constantly. It's got 3 spikes, and every 2 weeks one of the spikes will put out a flower. I'm hoping that all 3 will get to the point where they bloom simultaneously. But this plant, the most recent bulb, this leaf actually matured in the fall, and it's got, I don't know if it's got some kind of infection, but the plant is done with it. You can see the leaf has turned completely yellow. It will be dropping that leaf, and I'm hoping that we'll see some healthy growth on it soon. The Cattleya type orchids are doing better than they've ever done before. They are humongous, and it's only mid-June, so they've still got 3 full months of growth left. And all 3 of these are plants that bloom in the fall or winter, so looking forward to seeing those. Right now I'm just enjoying the nice big healthy growths coming out of those. No problem with those. Good roots, everything's great with those. A Dendrobium country girl. Now typically this is a nobile type Dendrobium, so typically you give them a cool rest period in the winter, and then in the spring they put up buds and they start blooming. But this one was divided recently. You can see I've got it potted in granite in a cottage cheese container, but I did poke some holes all around the bottom of the container, and it's got buds on it that are just about ready to pop open. These are super nice and they're really fragrant as well. So looking forward to that. And man, these are just so tough. This is my first Dendrobium, but I can see why people are really into Dendrobiums. Vanda falcata is a summer bloomer. It'll probably be seeing its first buds opening up in July, but there's a spike there, and I just kind of looked around the plant. There's several spikes actually at different stages of development, so really excited about that. Very fragrant little orchid. Phalaenopsis schilleriana is putting out some nice new growth. A few months ago it was in full glorious bloom, had 30-something beautiful pink fragrant flowers on it. Now is the time for new roots and new leaves, and hopefully we are going to see 2 new leaves this summer, maybe even 3, that'd be great, and then it'll start spiking in the fall again. Cattleya walkeriana came from Stephen Van Camp and Lewis a few months ago. I potted it up in granite in a plastic pot, and it's put out several roots. It's got 2 new growths there, doing well. This is Cattleya Jose Marti. It's a hybrid, and it is really adapting well to this clay pot with granite, and it's got a new growth pushing out, and I'm hoping that maybe it'll bloom next spring. It's supposed to be a spring bloomer, so looking forward to that. That's a seedling, it's never bloomed. Bulbophyllum, lovely Elizabeth. This is a basket full of bulbo, and it is doing really well in terms of growth, but I haven't seen this plant bloom for going on 3 years, so that's a little bit disappointing. It's got more growths pushing out, and normally this plant, the first few years that I had it, it would spike in the fall and then bloom in the winter, so hopefully we can cross our fingers we're going to see that. Now the rest of the Cattleya rex seedlings are putting out really nice big new growths. There's no sheaths inside, which means they're not going to be blooming this year, but that's okay. New growth is always a good thing. You can see I don't see any blemishes or anything on these new growths. Really doing well. I love the time when the blade pops open and you see the new leaf, kind of how big it's going to be. And I would say that, this year we're only seeing 2 plants bloom, but I'm thinking next year might be the year to see several of these bloom out. But they've all been repotted into granite, and a lot of them are in net baskets so that the roots will dry out really quickly. These like to be watered often, but they also like to dry out in between each watering. I have seen people grow them successfully in sphagnum, but you really got to know what you're doing in the watering. You can't let them stay wet. This is a Stanhopea oculata. It's got lots of spots on its leaves. However, it does, you can see I cut off a piece there to see if it had a virus. I did the virus test and it came out clean, so I'm guessing it's some kind of a fungal infection. But the new leaves, as you can see, are totally green, no spots. Same with this Bulbophyllum lobbii, spots on last year's growth, although the new growths for this year, no spots. So hopefully we're going to see no spots on the new growths, but I don't know. Bulbophyllum medusae also had a couple of growths with spots on it, so I cut them both off, and it's got tons and tons of new growths, probably 7 or 8 at least new growths on there, and hopefully they will come out without any blemishes, and we will see some beautiful flowers on that in the fall. And that is my collection update for this week. A couple of weeks ago, I asked you guys for your help voting for my photo in the Carter & Holmes photo contest. Well, I'm super excited to say I won not only in the Cattleya category, but I also won in the miscellaneous and unusual genre category. There was a picture of Hal with a fly. Everybody loved that photo. I'm going to put these up now so you can have a look at them.
But thank you again so much. Now I have $30 to spend at Carter and Holmes, so you better believe I'm going to be telling you guys or showing you exactly what I'm going to get there. But until next time, I'm William Green. These are my green pets, and wish you happy growing.